I'm Grimthule, back with another EverQuest Legends update, and there are so many moving parts to the development of this game. This reimagining classic experience, it's extremely hard to keep up with all the sources of information coming in. A lot has happened since my last news video, so I'm going to do my best to catch everyone up. EverQuest Legends continues to excite and stress out fans with their 560 multi-class options to choose from. Which multi-class builds are going to be the best and are under constant scrutiny and debate. Ogre Warrior Necrobard. Let's talk about some important dates now. Pre-order started today, June 16th, and the pre-order beta will start on July 1st, where you can reserve your name that day and have that name across all servers. The official launch date is now July 28th, and as far as the pre-order prices go, it is $19.99 and you get 1 month free. And then after your free month, it's going to be $9.99 a month. So having said that, it's a pretty big deal to me, and I know a lot out there that play MMORPGs love to have the same name across all games. So let's talk about current developers' focus. As you can see here in this image, they are developing new maps. This is one of Freeport's zones. Plane of Sky continues to be a big focus. They're trying to get that ready before the pre-order beta starts. Plane of Sky now has Berserker and Beast Lord quests, and they're working on solo instances for Plane of Sky. They're also working on audio triggers, completing the new Sebulus expedition where the Ixars are starting out. They're working on memory and server optimizations for launch capacity, fixing little things like music is going out of tune. They're working on deity unlocks. Enchanter AAs are still being worked on because Dire Charm historically lets you charm any mob in the game, which can be quite powerful. So hopefully they'll finish that soon. Karens are still under development, they say, because it takes roughly 70 animations to create a new player character. As far as class balancing goes, they are focusing on buffing weak class combos instead of nerfing meta class combos. So let's talk about dungeons. This is my favorite. They're planning to revamp every dungeon in the game. Crushbone, Unrest, and Permafrost are next. Design drafts are being drafted by Sataiko and then reviewed by a team. The named mobs in all dungeons will spawn more often, with item merging and a lot more drop variety within all dungeons. There's an intentional effort to ensure all build types will have gear available across all dungeons. During these dungeon revamps, there's an intentional effort to ensure all build types will have gear available across all dungeons. Blackburrow was targeted for early game slot gaps, a good example being Caster Intelligence pants. Until now, you would have to wait all the way until Guck to get a decent pair of pants. Null pups were left intentionally as non-attackable as they exist for flavor or story elements. For instance, one of these null pups will warn players that there is a false floor in a tree. So they want to have smooth gear progression, so you can go into Blackburrow and Befallen and Crushbone, get that starting gear, and then as you go into dungeons of higher level, you'll get more gear that, scales up a bit more, all the way to the planar gear. So you always have something to strive for. I mentioned Permafrost being reworked, and they made this was a good example of level spread in dungeons have always been kind of crazy. I personally liked it from a role-playing perspective, but I can see where it could cause problems for newer players. For instance, ice giants guard the entrance to Permafrost, but when you go into Permafrost, you are confronted with lower level goblins. They are exploring full redesign with progressive mob levels deeper as you go, culminating to a Voidling encounter that foreshadows the Lady Vox raid. Their intent is to give Northern Norath a high-level dungeon equivalent of Nagafin's Lair, aka Solasec B. I just mentioned the Voidling, so what is a Voidling actually? So Voidling is what you talk to open up your raid instances and start a solo instance or a group instance of the raid you want to enter. You can find them deep inside the dungeons. They've been doing a lot of work on raids. A lot of class combinations can easily take on raid bosses as they existed in 1999. Instead of completely changing raid encounters, they've added spells like Cessation of Life to counter life tap capable raid mobs like the Maestro and Plane of Hate. Cessation of Life reduces the amount a mob can be healed by 25 to 30%. Lockouts are shared amongst solo and group instances, but they're adding a charge system. You can get an instance charge. They are accumulated 1 per hour, and you can have 2 charges at a time. You can use these to open up an instance all day long with a 2-hour window. You get bonus loot weekly on raids. So if you open a solo instance of Nagafin's Lair, you can get up to 7 items off of Nagafin once a week. You can also get an item off him once a day after you get your bonus items. You also are allowed to raid every 2 hours on the same encounter, but you won't get the loot. You can help out your guild, help out your buddies, so you'll never not be able to raid. Open world raids no longer spawn raid mobs to ensure fairness to those who can only log in occasionally. I find this very noble of the development team. They continue to impress me with their design philosophy. Raid locks will reset at 8 a.m. Pacific. Playing the Sky uses personal charges only, so no loot lockouts. Players can farm Sky freely until class unlock items are obtained. These personal instances allow players to avoid open world competition and play at their own pace. There are several ways you can play in personal instances. You can choose for mobs to respawn as normal, for unlimited content and open-ended playtime. If you choose to have mobs stay dead, you'll get higher spawn rates and bonus loot like high-tier motes to help you merge your gear even higher. You also get a personal charge credit. Players can always downgrade an instance without spending a charge, but never upgrade to a higher difficulty. Speaking of loot and difficulty settings, here you can see some +4 gear and motes at the bottom. You use the motes to merge up items if you don't get multiple copies of the item to merge. So if you put it on difficulty 4 acts like a times 16 loot multiplier because you'll get at least +4 items in difficulty 4. If you merge a +4 item with a +4 item, that's a +5 item right there. Difficulty 4 is meant to be soloable with the right strategy, gear, and player skill. It is by no means a pushover. All right, let's talk about some game mechanics now because these are game changers. These make a lot of builds possible. Let's go over the new ones. Arcane Mastery Invocation and Channeler Stance are making the vast majority of caster builds possible now. Arcane Mastery reduces spell cast and recovery times and also reduces the mana cost of detrimental spells. This is the invocation you want to be in when you're casting your dots and your direct damage spells. The Channeler Stance is really what makes all caster builds possible. So you want to be a Necro Wizard Mage, but you don't have plate armor and you don't have defensives. Well, now you do. All incoming damage is reduced by 40%, and your success to channel a spell is increased. Half of the mitigated damage goes to both mana and endurance. This gives you a chance to tank Nagafin without having to wear plate. Unyielding Invocation is the new melee-only health regen out of combat bonus. It also increases your resistance to Fear, Mez, and Charm. This gives all melee classes some sustain and protection, and there's no mana cost to upkeep it. Spellblade Invocation below isn't new, but I still wanted to bring it up because I failed to have a screenshot of it in my last video. The Spellblade Invocation is ridiculous. It treats the first spell gem slot as a proc, so you can put a life tap, you can put an enchant metal, you can even put a heal, and you can even put Ice Comet on this thing. 40% of the spell's mana cost is paid as mana and endurance, and the spell must have a reuse time less than or equal to its cast, so that might take you a little bit of time to figure out which ones are good to use and which ones aren't. Spoiler alert, I'll be using Life Tap. Range Stance and Berserker Stance I also failed to go over last time. So for anyone that doesn't know, you can now point blank shoot something in the face with an arrow, and you can also double and triple attack with a 25% accuracy bonus. The Berserker Stance is pretty wild as well. Your attack speed and ability damage is doubled. True to Berserkers all across the world. You also take some of the damage that you're putting out. Let's talk about raid bosses specifically now. A typical game design philosophy is a boss would have immunity to at least one resist type, would be strong against 1 or 2 others, and susceptible to 2 to 3. Raid bosses are being adjusted as issues are reported over the course of the beta. New chromatic and prismatic spells will be added and will target lowest or average resist to help casters land spells. Instead of raid bosses completely dispelling your buffs, they now only reduce the duration instead, which is pretty awesome. This relieves the issue of having that clicky requirement to get into those top raiding guilds. so that you can put a clicky buff on yourself to block those nasty raid dispels that come in. And one of my favorite changes as far as dispelling buffs go, permanent buffs that players cast upon themselves can no longer be dispelled by that duration reducing effect. Planar armor has also been shuffled around in the Plane of Hate and Fear, as well as hinted at a new set of armor, which I'm pretty sure is called Midnight Clad, but more on that later. Alright, let's talk about pets now. Everybody loves pets. All pets are now dual classes. This means that the Mage Earth pet is now part Ranger. Necromancer pets have Shadow Knight abilities. The Enchanter animations can now cast Paladin spells. The Beastlord Warders are now considered Berserkers. Shaman Spirit Wolves are now Beast Lords. All multi-class pets have gotten double health as well, increasing their survivability. They've also introduced improved weapon logic. Here you can see a pet inventory image, and I'm hovering over a sweet hooded black cloak +4 that took me forever to camp, if I'm being honest. Primary hand weapons will be blocked if there's already a better primary equipped, so there's some smart logic now. A two-handed weapon will replace a one-handed weapon if the score is higher and the secondary slot is empty. If a pet is capable of dual wield, they will always choose the one-hander over a two-hander. Around every 2 weeks, there'll be patches, bug fixes, quality of life improvements, new items, dungeon revamps, balance passes. We don't have to wait for an entire expansion to get all sorts of content. Hot fixes will come by as needed. Major patches are expected to launch every 2 to 3 months with new zones, new character unlocks, new regions. As far as expansions go, Kunark is the only one set in stone, but more are planned, but they are keeping quiet about those at this time. Kunark will be recognizable, but will have substantial world changes in addition to ongoing system changes. Perhaps the most important bit of news I have to offer this time is that Manastone is not in the game. Having said that, they have confirmed that it will be in the game. I am extremely excited to get a Manastone. I was obsessed with Manastones back in 1999, and it kills me to this day that I never got one. The devs have confirmed that hidden content does exist in the game, but no further details were offered. So player housing was actually announced early on, but they have not said word one about it since. I keep expecting them to say something on the stream, but they never do. So I'm really interested to know when that's going to come into play. For those that don't know, housing is supposedly going to be attached to the East Commonlands Tunnel, famously known for the player hangout where people come to buy, sell, and trade. They also haven't mentioned much about mounts, but Paladins and Shadow Knights do get free mounts coming from their alternate advancement points. The devs have also been kind of hush-hush when it comes to epic weapons. I'd really like to know more about those. I really want to know if I can merge epic weapons up to +10 with the right amount of modes. I cannot fathom a +10 epic weapon. Tradeskills are also being reworked. Jewelrycraft still remains on top as far as usefulness and longevity, especially with the White Dragon Scale cloaks needing high-level jewelry crafts. That's all for now. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Like and subscribe for more EverQuest Legends content brought to you by your friendly neighborhood ogre. Come join me and fellow adventurers like yourselves in the Grimthule EverQuest Legends Discord channel to discuss between streams and videos. I'm always happy to help, and the Discord link is in the description below. I'm Grimthule, and I'll see you in Norath.